Hello and a very warm welcome to World Stories. I'm Layla Harat with your weekly International Reporters magazine. Today we celebrate our one-year anniversary, which started some 340 reports ago. Over 70 broadcasters and independent journalists from 48 countries shared with us their stories. Some have inspired us, others educated, entertained, and moved us, and all, without exception, have enriched us. So in the next half hour, to mark the occasion, we look back at 5 reports. We revisit a Mexican movie set producing melodrama with a message, see how Turkish reporters prepare for dangerous frontline assignments, hear about Jordanian musicians rocking the Kasbah, and African refugees calling Australia home. But we start off in Asia, where Vietnam is home to the world's largest single cave passage. The Son Doong cave, as it's called, was discovered by accident a couple of years ago by a British expedition team, which stumbled upon this impressive cave right in the heart of the jungle. Inside the Son Doong cave, underneath layers of rich limestone, VTV International reporter Lee Huang Ling takes us to see some truly spectacular vistas.
Son Doong, a mountain river cave in Vietnamese language, has held the title of the cave with the largest passage in the world since 2009. It is more than 200 meters wide, 150 meters high, and approximately 8 kilometers long, with caverns big enough to fit an entire city inside them. Wow! This underworld to mankind also contains the overwhelming beauty and great natural values that will leave anyone speechless once getting inside.
Son Doong Cave was created 2 to 5 million years ago by river water that eroded the limestone underneath the mountain. A local farmer discovered the cave entrance in 1991. But it wasn't until 2009 that a team from the British Cave Research Association stumbled upon Son Doong and realized they'd found the biggest cave passage in the world.
What we found out, it's very, very pure limestone. That's the most important thing, the quality of limestone. And this is the best quality limestone possibly in the world, but certainly in Vietnam. You get very, very large cave development. On top of that, there's a large river going through it, a very, very large river. And in the wet season, it goes very, very high, up to 50 meters high, the river. So it's impossible to go in here in the wet season. But another very, very important feature is this cave is on a fault, a very, very obvious fault. And that's why the cave is very, very straight. And because of the fault, the amount of water, the pure limestone combination makes Hang Son Doong a big cave.
It takes at least 7 hours of trekking through rugged terrain to get to the entrance of the cave, and another 3 whole days to get through it. Inside, slick, steep slopes and drops can discourage even the bravest spelunker, who doesn't get the appropriate climbing equipment. Howard Limbert has been exploring caves for 40 years, and he now knows Son Doong like the back of his hand. He's named many of the sites inside.
To the hand of dog is about 500 meters, and to the daylight another 500 meters.
1 kilometer.
1 kilometer to the daylight.
Okay.
And that is dinosaurs. That's watch out for dinosaurs.
Okay.
That's the first daylight shaft where the jungle is small.
The international film crews from National Geographic, the BBC and Kyoto TV have all captured the cave's overwhelming beauty and grandeur, sharing their images with audiences around the world. Scientists are eager to research the cave's water system and rich biodiversity.
We never imagined that we would find such a magnificent, beautiful jungle nearly 100 meters below the surface. The tropical plants here are the hardiest and strongest I've ever seen. Woody plants grow 60 meters high to reach the sunlight, while weeds have adapted to the environment down below. The way the water moves here is completely mysterious. We traced the stream from Khe Van, Khe Ri, all the way through the Hang Eng cave. Half a kilometer to Son Doong, the water just disappears right at the first sinkhole. After the second sinkhole, we see another river that connects with the Pong Na cave. We haven't figured out how the water runs or where it comes from.
Sau khi chúng ta đi qua cái giếng chơi thứ hai ở phía bên kia thì chúng ta lại thấy lại có một cái dòng sông khác.
Over the past 22 years, Howard Limbert and his team have completed a total of 15 expeditions through 250 kilometers of cave systems throughout Vietnam. The discovery of Son Doong is considered one of the most significant yet. Only 10% of the Pong Na Ke Bang National Park has been mapped. Through further explorations, the team is hoping it will stumble upon an even bigger cave in the near future.
Otherworldly. Now, telenovelas with their steamy plots, well-timed slaps, and dramatic close-ups have millions glued to their screens. These wildly popular soap operas are Mexico's hottest pop culture export. But increasingly, their over-the-top storylines intertwine drama with public messages, tackling social issues. The Mexican state of Chiapas is home to a new kind of novela. Mucho Corazón tells the story of a young indigenous woman up against incredible odds. The show entertains and helps raise awareness about racial discrimination and sustainable development. Paula Merino from TV10 Chiapas goes behind the scenes and on set for a close-up.
When it comes to developing positive role models and shaping public opinion, the media have a powerful part to play. It's a fact that applies all over the world. The state of Chiapas lies in southeastern Mexico on the border with Guatemala. It has one of the largest indigenous populations in Mexico and a history of ethnic and social tensions, problems that the state is now seeking to address through television. The TV series Mucho Corazón, meaning a lot of heart, tackles age-old stereotypes and prejudices.
The goal of this project is to give our viewers who identify with the characters an understanding of the problems that our society is grappling with.
Sir, please, take me with you, please.
Jump in.
Either you pay the 1,000 pesos or you're out on the street.
Like every good soap opera, it contains love, jealousy, and intrigue. But it also has distinctly educational elements.
Your drinking has gone far enough. You've put your daughter through enough misery.
As a widow, I'm on my own, but I'm strong and I can make it.
Social change is the only way forward for Chiapas.
You, my own son.
Dad, I never lied to you.
Hold your tongue.
Candelaria, that's enough. How long must you go on thinking of others?
This is an ambitious project. It's both educational and entertaining, a turning point in the history of public television in Chiapas and in Mexico. With it, we can convey a social message to families in Chiapas.
Escena 3, 6 y 8 del capítulo 1, toma 5, 2 cámaras.
It's Mexico's first educational telenovela, produced by a public broadcaster. The story is based around the United Nations Millennium Goals and promote respect for indigenous peoples, gender equality, human rights, and sustainable development. The goal is to change deeply ingrained attitudes, a goal shared by Chiapas' First Lady, who heads a state organization that supports families.
The best way to reach the hearts and minds of people and households across the state is through television, and a telenovela is ideal.
The lead character is Maruch, played by Daisy Salazar. a young indigenous woman from rural Chiapas. She battles racial, gender, and class discrimination. She's an inspiring role model for indigenous women in Chiapas, overcoming all the odds against her.
Nature tells you what seed to sow, and you feel love in the same way.
And what about you, Maruch? Have you felt love?
Our goal was to use the telenovela to consider problems that occur in our indigenous communities, specifically discrimination and the role of women. We open people's eyes so they can change their point of view. We women are strong. We're the ones who give life.
The series is proving very effective in focusing attention on the whole issue of human rights, as well as publicizing government programs that seek to further the Millennium Goals. The show is also popular not just because of the love story between Maruch and Felipe de Jesus, played by Pascasio Lopez, but also because of the powerful narrative that focuses on universal human values. Mucho Corazon also highlights many of the traditions and customs of indigenous communities in Chiapas, and it showcases 15 different locations. In all, it's a pretty ambitious project.
It's a very complicated project, very difficult, partly because many of the actors are amateurs. Most of our actors had never worked for television before.
The show is being dubbed into Tzotzil, one of the main indigenous languages in Chiapas, and its effects are being felt beyond Mexico. The program already reaches viewers in 20 Latin American countries.
Now to the ongoing conflict in Syria, where dozens of civilians are killed and wounded every day. Since Syria has been swept by civil war, journalists reporting on the ground fulfill a crucial role by bearing witness, documenting, and reporting what's happening. But reporting from the front lines comes with great dangers, since reporters themselves become a prime target. According to Reporters Without Borders, since the beginning of the uprising, over 50 journalists have been killed, a staggering death toll. Turkey's NTV reporter Can Ertuna shows us how Turkish journalists go through special hostile environment training to prepare them for work in war zones like Syria and beyond.
Sinan Gul was shot while reporting on Syria's civil war. Since the conflict erupted, the number of journalists killed there has risen steadily. Many others have been severely wounded or held hostage. Syria has now become one of the world's most dangerous places to report from.
I didn't know if I'd been hit anywhere else.
He was in shock, but his training quickly took over.
Our photographer Sinan Gul was shot in Syria. Thanks to the training he received, he was able to bandage his wound and stop the bleeding. His colleagues were also able to help. Our journalists know how to react if anything happens, or if they're abducted.
Journalists from Turkey's Anadolu news agency regularly take courses offered by the Turkish Police Academy. They give the reporters the skills to survive in hostile environments around the world. Journalists can encounter many different types of bombs and explosives in war zones. That's why learning to recognise them takes up a significant part of the course. They also learn how to keep their heads down.
Taking cover is an essential skill for reporters in conflict zones. Training here focuses on how to take cover in the right place at the right time.
The training shows the reporters that they can't afford to let their guards down, not even at night.
Tonight we'll see what happens out there. Anything we learn now might help us save our own lives in the future.
Riskli
'Riskli
'ortamlarda çok fayda sağlayacağına inanıyorum. 'Riskli 'ortamlarda çok fayda sağlayacağına inanıyorum. 'Riskli 'ortamlarda çok fayda sağlayacağına inanıyorum. 'Riskli 'ortamlarda çok fayda sağlayacağına inanıyorum.
The journalists frequently report from areas hit by natural disasters. This puts them under considerable risk, especially as earthquakes are a common occurrence in Turkey. Disaster and emergency training are vital for journalists in this field. They need to know how to react if worst comes to worst. For example, the reporters are taught how to survive in water.
Kurtarma botları, bunların arka kısmına atlamayın.
The course also provides reporters with the basics of self-defense.
Buradan aşağı in.
They then hit the racetrack and spend a day learning how to drive in dangerous situations. Reporters frequently get caught up in disturbances and riots. So part of the course is dedicated to preparing the reporters for these potentially deadly confrontations.
We often face tear gas and plastic bullets when we're out reporting, so we really need to know how to protect ourselves.
And most important of all, they learn first aid.
How long have you been a journalist?
15 years.
Ever taken a first aid course?
No, this is my first.
Every single day, people around the world are forced to flee their home country because of war or persecution. Restarting a new life can be tough for anybody, but for refugees, it can be even harder. In the Northern Territory of Australia, a group of African boys is using Australian football as a way of integrating into the local community. The Australian Football League says the game helps the young players build relationships and ease tensions. Shalila Medora from SBS sent this report on African refugees becoming part of Australia's fabric.
15-year-old Patrick Taban had never even heard of AFL before coming to Australia from Uganda in 2006. Now he's the unofficial team captain for the African Boys Leadership Academy and a huge advocate for the sport.
Fana, more actually tackle too. Yeah, kick the ball with your leg and you can hold it in handball as well.
AFL officials believe the game is helping the boys overcome the trauma they've experienced.
I guess sport's a really important thing in that, in terms of, teaching rules and teaching what's okay on the field and what's not, and sort of team balance and team sort of work ethic is something really important for the boys.
The team also brings with it a sense of unity. Its T-shirt features all 57 flags of the African continent.
Like we're brothers, reunite again, just playing together side by side.
It's difficult to pin down just how many African migrants live in the Northern Territory. Australia's intake of African migrants has more than doubled between 2000 and 2010. Many came to the top end from other parts of the country, drawn by the climate, laid-back attitude and job prospects.
They really spread within the community, and we like it that way.
Dr Noor heads up the Melaleuca Refugee Centre in Darwin. The centre helped fund the AFL team, which it says promotes diversity.
In Darwin, we really seriously multicultural, and people are a lot more welcome here than anywhere else in Australia.
Jane Kuti experienced the Territory's hospitality firsthand. She came to Australia from Sudan as a refugee.
I like Darwin more than other places. It's like I'm home.
Despite that positive experience, there have been racial tensions, including violence between African migrants and, in particular, Indigenous Territorians. The African Boys Leadership Academy played its first match against an Indigenous team, and it's hoped that the establishment of this team will mean all future battles are fought on the field. Shalila Medora, World News Australia.
They're big in Jordan and across the Middle East. Rock band Jadal made their name by being the first ever Arab rock band to combine Arabic lyrics with rock tunes. Key to their success has been their strong online presence on social networking sites like Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Reporter Mejda Assaid from Egypt's On TV met up with founding band member Mahmoud Radadeh to talk music that's breaking boundaries.
I'm Mahmoud Rodaja from the group Jadal. It's a Jordanian band founded in 2003. At that time, Arab rock music was still fairly unusual. Now you hear it everywhere. In 2003, Jadal became the first group to establish Arab rock music. Why Arab rock? Quite simply because we listen to rock and because we listen to foreign music. But we speak Arabic. The basis for the rise and success of a band is producing hits that people get excited about. They have to sense the value of these songs, no matter what the artists think. We're 7 kids at home. My sister was about to have a girl. My brothers and I were competing over naming the baby. I liked the name Salma, so I used that name in a song. I had already composed the melody long before, and I wrote the song in bed. The next day I showed it to the band and told them, this will be a hit. Bye Bye My Dear is about a girl who's leaving her boyfriend and says, goodbye dear. But she also says, bye bye my sir, distancing herself from him. We started out with the traditional song Toba. We wanted to introduce people to Arab rock without using any songs by the Lebanese band Ara Habina. They'd written lots of songs and several musicians had done covers. But I decided to do songs by Abda Halim, who I really like. Jadal has homepages on many of the social networks: Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and just recently on Google+. The social networks are competing with the music and recording industry. The companies have lost some of their influence to platforms like YouTube. People are able to put their songs on the internet on their own to share with everyone. The social networks help give everybody an online presence without any kind of professional support.
And that wraps up this first anniversary edition of World Stories. From all of us here and our contributing reporters and partner stations around the world, thank you for watching. See you next time.